All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of To the Show We Go Baseball Podcast. Today's episode, we're dipping back into the Red Sox system. I feel like I had a strong run earlier in the offseason. We've kind of been going into some other systems lately, but we're going back to what we know and with the Red Sox system here. We have Zach Fogell on today's episode. If you're not familiar with Zach, he spent 2024 briefly in Salem and then in Greenville. And then obviously was a member of the Red Sox contingency in the Arizona Fall League. Zach, I like to kind of just start off with the layup here. I know you just told me you were back home for the offseason. What kind of things you've been up to since the Fall League ended?
Honestly, not much. Catching up with family and friends has been nice. It was a long 10 months with Arizona added on to the season. But just catching up family and friends and then working out with some local pro guys here. So it's been a lot of fun.
Is this the longest you've ever played into a year, obviously with the Fall League taking you all the way as far as it did towards December? Is this probably the longest you've been?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even before in college and stuff, like the seasons are nowhere comparable. Like those seasons fly by. It's like 50 games, which seems like a lot, but like it's 4 games in a weekend and then you're back home and it's way different. But this season it was just 10 months. And I think like the biggest thing is like before summer ball, I was always either hurt or didn't get to play due to COVID. So like I never really had that like full like college season experience. So being able to stay healthy this whole year and grind out the full 10 months was really cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna dive in a little bit with your 24 season because I feel like it was it probably felt like a roller coaster to you. Obviously, starting the year in Salem, ending in Arizona. I'm sure it's not something you thought you were going to be at once you started the year in Salem. So I do want to just start there. I'm going to ask you a little bit about Salem. You were there for not that long at all. I forgot who I had. I think I had Blake Wehunt on earlier in the offseason. He was just like, he's like, yeah, I was seeing guys get promoted around me. Zach Fogell was there for like a week, and then he was already up to Greenville. So you had a hot start, and that's what everybody's looking for. But what was that like for you, just getting such a hot start and moving up so quickly? What did that mean to you?
It was cool. I mean, starting in Salem was a little bit of a disappointment for me, not because Salem was a great place, great people there, was super excited to see them, but just because I was there last year, felt like I deserved to start in high A, but spring training didn't really go the way I wanted to. But then as soon as the season started, kind of just dialed in, was like, I'm going to show them what they missed out on. And luckily, I think I had 2 outings before I went to Greenville. And then Greenville was a lot of fun, being able to get to see those guys work out. And I mean, Greenville's a beautiful city, super young, super clean. Weather couldn't ask for better. Facilities are awesome. Fans are awesome. So Greenville was a great place to be. And then going right to Arizona and experiencing that with all the high caliber prospects that go there was actually incredible.
So obviously you kind of hit on the disappointment a little bit starting in Salem, but obviously getting moved up pretty quickly to Greenville. What kind of things were the team and the org, I guess, and the player development staff kind of talking with you about of like, hey, we want to see this out of you? Like, for example, like, you starting the year in Salem, did they kind of say like, hey, Zach, we really want to see you do this or show this or whatever it was like? And then when you got to Greenville as well, was there any talks like that?
When I started in Salem, they didn't really necessarily give me like X, Y, and Z. You need to do this to get to Greenville, or this is the reason you're not going to Greenville. But like through like what they're preaching and stuff and what I was doing, I just wasn't in the zone enough in spring training. I think my stuff was really, really good in spring training. The velo was there. It was just I wasn't getting ahead of guys. I wasn't throwing as many strikes as I would like to be. But I knew that once the season locked in, I'd be perfectly fine. And it kind of that's kind of how it unfolded. But I completely understand their decision and what happened. And then in Greenville, it was kind of the same thing. Like, had like a lot of really good outings and then like one not so good outing and then kind of bounce back and stuff like that. But like you said earlier, it was definitely a roller coaster of a year, but I learned a lot. And I think that's all you can really ask for.
I hear a lot of guys too, once they get to Greenville and, you have a coach like Iggy, who's one of the best. And obviously, like you said, the town of Greenville is so underrated. It's yeah, you can walk everywhere. You can it's just, I don't know. I think I have love for Portland, and obviously I'm a little biased for Worcester as well.
Yeah.
But I think Greenville, man, it's the best affiliate in the system. And how did you enjoy off the field there in Greenville? Like, what kind of things were you doing? And I know you were golfing a lot, but how did you like playing there, I guess, off the field?
Yeah, I mean, it was just such a good area to kind of just do your thing. Like, whether we lived in a beautiful apartment complex with a pool, cornhole, there were grills outside that we would cook steaks on, like just everything you could really ask for. There's a Jack Brown's. I don't know if you ever heard about that. It's a burger place right across the street, basically, from our apartment complex, and it's open till 12, which is awesome because if the post game food wasn't exactly what you wanted, you just called up Jack Brown's and got a burger right there, and that saved us a lot of nights. But it's just, not only was the city great, but the group of guys we had there was just awesome. Like, you can't really ask for anything better than that. And I think that just helps you like endure the grind of the season for the whole 6-ish months that I was there. But just like the weather with the combination of all the stores and everything you can do there, it's a great place to be.
Yeah, I was just looking through some notes here from some earlier podcasts this offseason, and Connolly Early gave me. I found out he was a very, very picky eater, and he wasn't a big seafood guy. So he gave me that place as one of the places he would always go to, because I think he's just a cheeseburger and chicken sandwich kind of guy, which can't hate on that. But I heard he's a super picky guy to try to eat with. So you kind of talked about it a little bit with it was your first full professional season here, and you had 6 games a week. You only got the one off day on Monday. How long did it take you to get used to that? Just like after the initial like grind of starting 6 games in a week, you got to be ready all week.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, I wouldn't even really say you get really used to it because every week feels like your body is just, by that Sunday, you're like, all right, I need this Monday off day. And as the season goes on, it just gets worse and worse, to be honest. But towards like May, I'd say, is where I kind of got used to like the grind of just every day. And then those Mondays, you really got to take care of yourself. Some days you don't even really want to go out and play golf or do whatever some people do on Monday. Some days you just need a chill day, watch movies, veg, and eat all day. But like, yeah, I'd say around like May is where you kind of like, for me at least, got in the groove of like, all right, this is my routine. Get up at this time, get to the field this time, do your thing, and then do it all over again the next day.
So I've had a couple things come up with some Red Sox arms in the system on this show this offseason. And one of the things is in your arsenal here. And I feel like a lot of guys have had their arsenal tweaked since joining the Red Sox system. Obviously, we have a running joke, every guy in the system's got a sweeper now. It's like, that's just what they love, a sweeper, and they want all their guys to throw it. So I heard an interesting story from our big tall friend Blake Wehunt that he had, where he went out of this past spring training with only one of his pitches that was still intact from the year before, that he had all new pitches. Was there a similar situation with you? Like, were you what did you have to add this year? Did they tweak anything? I guess what does your arsenal look like?
So I was kind of didn't have as many tweaks, especially as Blake. For me, it was more just add a pitch. So before the season, I was a fastball, changeup, sweeper guy. So I already had a sweeper in college, just kind of just like how my slider profiles with my slot. So luckily I didn't have to change anything big like that. But they did at the very beginning of the season. I remember I was in Salem working with the pitching coach there, and he was like, I really think you could throw this cutter from your slot. Like, let's like try to work on it, but like, we're not going to enforce or anything. And then like the next day I got promoted, and then like, it kind of like went under the water for a little bit, and we didn't really talk about it. And then like 2 months later, I was in like they do like player development meetings, like every month or two. So, and they were like, all right, we're going to start to throw this cutter again. So at first I was like, oh crap. Like, I didn't love this pitch before. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I had a lot of trouble with it, honestly, towards that middle end of the season. It was kind of a thing where I had a usage goal for it, so I had to use it a certain amount of time every outing I went out. And when you don't really have confidence in a pitch, it's really hard to get it in, especially in tough situations. So I didn't really have confidence with it at all, really, until like the last couple weeks of the season, and then the season ended. Did some development stuff in bullpens, and then as soon as I got to Arizona, it was like a switch clicked in my brain, and like it ended up being one of my favorite pitches towards the end of Arizona. I had outings where it was my most used pitch. My last outing in Arizona, it was 1 inning, and I threw 5 pitches, and 4 of them were cutters, and guys just like were rolling them over. And I was like, yeah, I can see how I could like this pitch, and it's honestly a really, really good tool that I have in my arsenal now.
That's actually going to bridge me to I want to talk about the fall league, and you had a ton of success, and I guess let's start here though. So you finish up in Greenville, you have a lot of success there. You're missing a lot of bats. Does that give you added confidence going into the AFL just from your first year in the pros? You have some success in high A, and then you get selected to go to the fall league. What does that do like mentally for you going into Arizona?
Yeah, it was definitely a confidence boost. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like there was definitely some thoughts in my brain where I was like, oh, these guys are like double A, triple A, big. So there's some big leaguers in this league. Like, I'm gonna really need to have my best stuff here. So there's I wouldn't say like there was a lack of confidence in that regard, but like it kind of fuels you and motivates you to like, hey, you got to be your best. And I think that those are kind of the situations that I thrive in. Like when my back's against the wall, my performance ticks up a little bit. So I've kind of known that about myself, and I think that kind of brought me some more confidence. But yeah, having a good year in Greenville, being able to just kind of like settle in my first professional year and have a pretty good season, and then just building off that in Arizona was a huge confidence boost for me.
So you're the group of guys that the Red Sox sent to Arizona. It seemed like you guys had some fun. I was seeing our guy Cooper upload some Instagram stories, and Danny and all these guys. Like, you guys were always, I don't know, you guys seemed like you were having a great time. So I guess even just hanging out with the guys from the Red Sox contingency, like how much fun was that for you?
Honestly, like just the whole perspective, like it was one of the most fun 6 weeks playing baseball I've ever had in my life. But like that group of 6, 7 dudes that we had in Arizona was like the best group of dudes I could have asked for. Like honestly, like I was only really close with Cooper and Caden Rose just because we were in Greenville together. Like I knew of the other guys, obviously. I never met Danny Kerwin, Steinbaugh. I met him for like 2 weeks. Ubi I saw for like a week when he was down in Greenville, but like I knew of these guys, but I never really spent time with them. So it was kind of like us getting to know each other and then just bonding over like having all that time at the beginning before the season started. And we just like clicked, and we were together every night. We actually had a balcony, me and Cooper room together, and we had a balcony, and we called it the kickback. And we were out there every night just talking until like 1 a.m. every night, just telling stories. And it was like I said, it was like one of the most fun times I've ever had playing baseball with that group of guys.
So when you get on the field for the first time in the fall league, and what was going through your head? Like, what were some of the things you were thinking about? Obviously, you had mentioned earlier some of the best competition. There was major league guys like out there in the batter's box across from you. So, what were some of your thoughts like going through your head once you got settled into on the field and once you were getting into these games?
Yeah, I think like baseball is baseball, no matter what level you're at, no matter where you are in the country. Baseball is baseball. But I think the first thing I had to adjust to was being in Arizona and the heat and the dryness of the heat. Like those first couple of days we were there, like you're outside, and like as an East Coast guy, I'm like can't even breathe. My throat's so dry. Lips are chapped, eyes are dry. Like that was kind of crazy. So that was kind of an adjustment, like hydration wise and stuff, getting used to that. The ball's a lot slicker if you don't have like the sweat and the humidity to get like kind of that moisture on the ball. So like that was an adjustment. But like playing wise, like as soon as I kind of stepped on the mound in that first game I pitched in, I remember it was in Scottsdale, and I threw a clean inning. I remember Fergie made a crazy play at second to get me out of it. But like after that first one, it's just kind of like you settle in. Like, yeah, there's definitely some jitters. Like these are all double A, triple A guys who are all super high regarded hitters. But then as soon as like that first one, like it's kind of clean and you get through it, regardless of what happens, it's like, all right, like I can do this. Like you settle in and you just go battle from there.
Yeah, I don't want to assume where you're going to start the year next year, whether it's Greenville or Portland, but um, having that experience you had and the success you had in the fall league, what does that do for you as you go into your second spring training as a professional? And I guess trying to push for a spot in Double A, like, does that give you any extra like oomph and be like, I can do this? I got guys out that were at this level and higher once I was in the fall league.
Yeah, definitely. I think like just being able to pitch how I did against those types of hitters, like I feel like now there's no doubt in my mind that I can play at any level that they put me in, regardless of if it's back in Greenville or in Double A. Like I'll have confidence that I can miss bats and get guys out wherever they send me. So it was definitely nice to see, and being able to work with the Double A pitching coach in Arizona was huge too. Getting able to build a relationship with him and see how he works, and that was a really good experience. Just overall, it was awesome.
All right. I'm gonna go to a little bit. I know I asked you a lot of random questions the last time I had you on, but I have some different ones for you this
All right.
time. Well, actually, first I want to kind of lead this off. How was your first spring training as a professional athlete? I had you on in October before then, so I
Yeah.
guess what was that like for you going through your first spring training and having like some big leaguers around and a lot of the coaching staff and everything?
Yeah. It was honestly crazy. Like growing up as a Red Sox fan, like being able to go to Fort Myers and like experience like what I've always dreamed of was crazy. I think the craziest part about it is I remember one of the pitching coordinators pulled me aside after my first live outing. I didn't throw a single bullpen before I went in my first live. And one of the pitching coordinators pulls me over and he's like, "All right, Zach, like look really good today. I think we're gonna get you into some big league games." And I was like, "What?" And I ended up backing up, I think like 5 or 6 big league games. And I remember the very first one, it was against Northeastern in the college series one. And the starter went out there, was having trouble finding the zone. And all of a sudden the bullpen coach gets a phone call and it's me. First spring training game in the big leagues. And I was the first name called the bullpen. I was like, holy crap. So I'm warming up. My heart's beating through my chest, and I'm going into the game in the first inning with 2 outs, bases loaded. And I get to the mound and I'm walking up, and Alex Cora gives me the ball and it's like, all right, kid, get us out of this. I'm like, okay. And the funniest part about it was I threw one pitch, guy lines out to second. Like that was awesome. And I'm coming to the dugout and I see Jason Varitek. He gives me fist bumps. I'm like, holy crap, that's super cool. And then I turn to my buddy Nico Cavadas, who's with the Angels now, obviously. And I'm like, hey man, like he's like, good job, bro. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. And I'm like, when are you getting in? He's like, dude, I was at first base. What do you mean? I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was so locked in to Alex Cora handing me a baseball. I didn't even know who was behind me. I couldn't name a single fielder other than Nico that was behind me that game. It was just like such a surreal moment for me. But I think that kind of just put the icing on the cake. And after that, it was just spring training was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, I actually do remember that first game because yeah, obviously it's the exhibition game against
Yeah.
Northeastern. It's not like an official Grapefruit
Yeah.
League gang or anything, but I remember that because that's obviously the first time the Red Sox are on TV for the spring. All the fans are all hyped up, even if it is against a college team, because
Yeah.
you just get to see Red Sox baseball in Nesson. And I remember seeing you come in, and I'm just like, this guy just threw like only like 3 professional innings last year in his first ever year, and he's going in the first inning with the bases loaded. It's nuts, man. I'm happy that you had a positive outcome on that because I mean, I don't even want to know what it would have been in an alternate universe. You
Oh,
gave up a grand slam right there, but
that would have been tough.
yeah. So I'm happy for you to do that. I was happy to see that. Definitely a hell of a spot to make your debut in front of a bunch of Red Sox fans. So watching
That was
Nesson
awesome.
right there. Um, well, I preluded to this earlier, but I want to know. I got to know you a little bit off the field last episode. That was over a year ago now. So I want to know if some of these things have changed. What did you do on your off days? Like, what did you like to do when on that Monday, or I guess even in the off season? What are you doing in your free time?
Yeah, I think sometimes we golfed, but most of the time I think it would like I said earlier, we had this beautiful apartment complex with a pool, and I think we spent a lot of time at that pool. I remember me, Connolly, and Cade Feeney would go out there with this like little football and just throw it around for like 2 hours. It was ridiculous, to be honest. It was like we were 10-year-olds in a pool, and I bet you everyone else hated us whenever we were there. But I think going to the pool, walking around a lot, hitting some shops. Jack Brown's definitely a lot too. There's also a very good Mexican place right by the field, and we went there a lot. But just enjoying the cultural spots around Greenville, and then definitely hitting that pool a lot.
Okay, I'm proud of you for that answer. I feel like I've only gotten golf and video games is like what you do in the free time, especially pitchers, man. I feel like you guys are just very simple creatures, but I'm kind of happy you gave me that. That's good. Good on you.
We definitely had some video game time, but when it's nice out, I'm not the type of kid that wants to sit inside and play COD all day like all those other chumps. But I like to enjoy some vitamin D when I can, definitely.
I heard a rumor that Hayden Mullins had hundreds of hours already in on the new Call of Duty. Hundreds.
Yeah. I've also heard rumors that he's probably the worst Call of Duty player in the Red Sox org, so you can write that down as well.
All right, yeah. I when we had him on the show, he had his golf club sitting right behind him, so he was kind of like showing off a little bit. And he didn't really talk about his Call of Duty game, but we were definitely talking about his golf game a lot. But
great golfer, not great Call of Duty.
Yeah, that's fair, man. It's one. I'm probably in the same boat. Not a good golfer though.
Same.
All right. How about this question for you? It might be the hardest one to ask you today. If you weren't playing professional baseball right now, what would you be doing with your life?
Oof. That is a tough question. I'd like to say that I would still be in baseball, working some sort of aspect in the front office. I went and got a business degree and then a master's in sports management. So I would like to say that I would have a pretty good job, hopefully with the Red Sox or another org, but in like some sort of front office position, hopefully start my year as an assistant, work my way up into some role. But honestly, after baseball, I don't even know what the heck I want to do. But that's probably where I'm generally attracted to, is to stay in baseball, obviously, because this game has practically been my entire life.
Yeah, you still have a few years, I think, left in the tank there before you gotta decide all that. So, that leads me to this. This is a question that I've asked this offseason that I'm actually like genuinely curious now with guys. And what did you major in college?
So I did business undergrad, and then at UConn, I had 2 years of eligibility and got a master's in sports management. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I've talked to a few guys this offseason that were kinesiology majors and psychology majors, and that kind of like just sparked it. And I'm just like, you majored in psychology is probably pretty smart in college, because pitchers and the game of baseball, it's like everything's mental, and it's like he's like, oh yeah, I majored in psychology so I could kind of learn a little bit about that and why I think the way I do and all this, and it's like it's kind of genius. So I always like to know like what you guys majored in college, and like kind of like the thought process behind it. And makes a lot of sense too if you want to work in a front office one day with what you majored in. So. I always like asking that. I don't know. I think it tells a little bit about like what you kind of were thinking.
Player, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you grew up in the New England area, and so you kind of talked about this earlier. You seeing Jason Varitek and Alex Core and some of those guys, but who are some of your favorite athletes growing up? It doesn't just have to be baseball, but obviously growing up in New England, who are a few of your favorite athletes you liked?
I would say Red Sox. Obviously, John Lester was a huge guy for me growing up as a lefty, and just being able to watch him play for that many years. I'd say John Lester, Buckles was a guy I loved growing up, And then outside of baseball, obviously Tom Brady. I mean, he was like my idol. My mom's obsessed with Tom Brady. His name wasn't allowed to be spoken in the house in a negative regard. Like, in that, I grew up in that like dynasty era where like the Patriots felt like we were in the Super Bowl every year, and we had a Super Bowl party every year, regardless if the Patriots were in it or not, because it was like such a staple. Didn't grow up a huge basketball fan, but like the big three, at the Celtics growing up, that was awesome. I honestly, like, growing up in the time period I did and being a New England sports fan was probably the coolest thing any child could experience.
Yeah, I agree. And I moved my wife to New England. Right. I think it was like right after COVID, and I was always telling her, because obviously I was a big Boston fan growing up, and
Yeah.
I told her, I'm like, yeah, there's usually a parade like every other year, every 2 years, something like that. And then she moved out here in 2020, and she was kind of like, okay, it's like 2022. She's like, where's the parade? Like, where is it? It's like, I don't know what to tell you right now. It's just downtime. Obviously, the Celtics gave us one this past year. I'm assuming that were you a little? How many parades have you been to? I guess over your lifetime, like actually went to the parade.
Crazy thing is, I think I've only been to 2. I went to the Red Sox parade. Funny story, actually. I went to the Red Sox parade in 18 when they won that one. And it was like in the morning, a parade, and I had to practice at 3 at Brown. I remember this. And everything's going perfect. The parade was awesome. Me and some friends I went with had a great time. Get on I think it was like a 1:00 train back to Providence. And this guy throws up on the train, and the train was delayed 2 hours, or like not 2 hours, but like an hour and a half ish. And I didn't get back to campus until like 4:00, and I got screamed at because I was obviously at a parade and not ready for practice, even though if everything worked out, it would have been fine. And I remember I had to run 60 poles that day because I was an hour late to practice. So that stunk. But after that, I don't think I've been to a parade since.
Okay, that is. Was it worth it? I guess.
Definitely. I mean, it was a super fun day. Being able to see like all the duck boats and stuff, and being in Boston with all those sports fans, it was a super awesome experience. It's a funny story now looking back at it, but I'm a very on time person, so not like having any control in not being at practice on time was freaking me out. But it's a funny thing to deal with now.
Yeah. Looking back on it, was funny, but at the time you're just like, man, this sucks.
I was sitting in that train seat, and I'm like swinging back and forth like this.
Getting all sweaty. You're just like, man, this is not going to be fun.
Oh,
the anxiety is just building up, dude. It's the worst feeling in the world, man. Couldn't do anything about it either. So, all right. I know I'm a part food podcast here, as you know. I don't know if you remember from last off season, but I am.
I do.
And all right, so give me your Mount Rushmore. So your top 4 fast food chains.
Okay, top 4. I gotta go Chick-fil-A at 1. I know it's basic. I'm sorry to all the fans out there that think it's basic.
It's very basic, but
2. Does fast casual count, or are we just doing fast food?
Yeah, you can do sit down or drive through.
Okay, interesting. I think I'm gonna put Five Guys at 2 then.
Oh wow! All right,
big Five Guys fan. 3. I'm going to put Wendy's. Don't know why. Love Wendy's. And then 4, I know you're going to beg me to put Zaxby's in here, but I'm not putting Zaxby's in here.
That's fair.
4, I think Cookout is going to be my 4, which is a sleeper pick. And I don't know if anyone else is having Cookout in their top 4, but the combination of just like open till 2 a.m., the prices are super cheap, and they have the best milkshakes I've ever had. So yeah, that's my top 4.
You'd be surprised. Cookout has been consistently in the top 4. Everybody. I mean, think about it. Think about what you said. It's like it's cheap. Yeah. You can get it. You can eat it when you're hungover, or like not hungover, when you're drunk at night.
Yeah,
you can eat it for dinner. Like, it's very versatile, and it's very cheap.
It is very versatile. All
It's
right. I
only
thought
in
I
the
was
it's
gonna be
only in
cool
the
with that one.
southeast though. It's only in the
It
southeast.
is only Southeast. Yeah. I bet you all the West Coast guys you have In and Out on their list too, and not In and Out.
So
In and Out's
yeah,
not for
I think
me.
the top three answers are Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, and then Cookout has been like probably my
Really?
top three. I don't know. It's been
All right.
interesting. I haven't got any Zaxby's if that makes you feel better. I'm not expecting to anymore. I don't ask that question anymore because it's just like that was also last year, and I'm just like, you know what? I
You're just
I, I
hurting now.
fought the fight, man. It's like can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, fair.
All right. I have one last thing I ended on. I have like a little segment. I'm still named. I'm like workshopping the names
Yeah.
here. But it's super easy off the top of your head. I'm gonna give you two options. You got to pick between the two, and I'm only gonna ask you to defend your choice if it's in the minority of what I've gotten so far this off
Okay.
season. So nothing crazy, but there are some that I'm like, okay, I've been getting a lot of those answers, so we'll see. All right, let's start it off here.
All right.
Do you like summertime or fall time better?
Summer, definitely.
Sunflower seeds or bubble gum?
I'm gonna have to say seeds. It's a
Ooh,
tough one
that's in the minority right there, but I'm with you on that.
though. Yeah.
Would you rather pitch in a day game or a night game?
Probably a night game, I would say.
So if it comes to a surprise, I've gotten day game probably 9 out of 10 times. So why a
Really?
night game?
I'd say night game just because like I feel like the atmosphere is like better. Like whether it was in college or now, it's like college is like Friday night, like the big ace versus ace, like there's a lot of drama. And then now it's just like when it's dark, like the lights are on. It's I don't know, it's just nostalgic. I feel like that feeling.
Okay. Yeah, I've been surprised. A lot of guys prefer day games, which I would have thought complete other way around,
Yeah.
especially with the schedule in
True. Yeah, we
minors.
play a lot more.
Yeah. So I know you haven't started since your time at Brown. I think you did start a few games when you were there,
Yeah.
but which one do you like better? Do you like starting games or coming out of the bullpen?
I I feel like it's weird, but I do like coming out of the bullpen better. I love the adrenaline you get. I love being in the big situations. Um, Starting's nice because you have your routine, like you know what you're doing this day, this day, this day. That is the one crappy part about coming out of the bullpen is you're hot Tuesday, but you might not pitch till Friday. So Tuesday through Thursday, you kind of just gotta like keep yourself fresh, but not too fresh. And so that's kind of the juggle, but definitely relieving. I love the adrenaline you get.
Okay. Would you rather watch HGTV or History Channel?
Probably the History Channel, to be
Tough one.
honest. That is a tough one. I don't HGTV is not really my thing. I do love a good World War II documentary. There's some good ones on
Ooh,
Netflix. Really good ones.
okay. All right. This one's going to be a local one that I'm curious what you're going to say. Would you rather vacation on the Cape or in Maine?
Oof. I was just in Maine the other week. I'm gonna have to go the Cape though. Cape summer is just different. I mean, whether there's baseball there, I think that's kind of the most like drawn to attractive part about it is that like it's just like a baseball town, an area with the beaches on top of it. I mean, I don't think you can beat that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you. I do love Portland, Maine in the
Yeah,
summer though. I mean, Maine in the summer, I don't know,
it is
man.
gorgeous.
Love Portland, Maine, and when you get there, like when you're pitching there, you're gonna love it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited.
so I got another one here for you. Would you rather have a cheeseburger or a chicken sandy?
See, that's more of a mood question for me, but I think cheeseburgers got to take it. I mean, there's nothing better than a good cheeseburger. And another thing is like an average cheeseburger is better than an average chicken sandwich. Like there can be an elite chicken sandwich that can beat a cheeseburger, but I'd say 9 out of 10 times a cheeseburger is probably better.
I'm with you. I think the ceiling is higher on a
Yeah,
cheeseburger, and the
definitely.
floor is higher as well.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
I'm with you. All right, I got a couple left, and we'll let you slide.
All right.
You just had some time in Arizona. I know you weren't there for the extreme heat in the summer, but I'm
Yeah.
sure it was still pretty toasty.
Mhm.
when you were there. So, which one is worse, a Florida heat or an Arizona heat?
Oof. It's got to be Arizona heat. I When I landed in Arizona, it was 108 degrees. October 1st, it was 108 degrees. And it like I stepped out on off the plane, and I remember just feeling like you're in an oven. Like it's like you don't sweat, and it's not like that. Like the humidity of Florida sucks.
Oh
Like, don't get me wrong, but just, like, stepping out into that, like, sauna oven, 108 degrees, like, I can't imagine how that feels in the summer, and I've talked to guys who are in, orgs that have spring trainings in Arizona and who are rehabbing during the summer, and they were like, "You can't be outside for 15 minutes without wanting to die," so I'm definitely gonna have to say Arizona's worse.
That's again, I've gotten Florida as the worst just because of the humidity, but I think they both suck. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean, Florida humidity's tough, but, like, you got all the beaches right there, like, there's a lot you can get away with in Florida.
okay. Yeah, I mean it's not as good as a Rhode Island summer, but
True.
it's like a Newport, Rhode Island in the summer, like heat. I'll take that 10 out of 10 times, man.
Nothing better.
All right, last question for you here. This one also has been a very it's I've gotten like 50-50 on this. Which way would you rather end an inning? Would you rather end it with a strikeout or a double play?
Probably a strikeout. Double plays are sweet. I seem to never get double plays either, by the way. I think I've gotten, like, 2 this whole year. Um, but ending an inning on a strikeout, and especially in, like, a big situation, like guys in scoring position, like, it's a pretty electric feeling. The fans are on their edge of their seat with 2 strikes. They go crazy, like, I'd definitely say strikeout, but double play is very, very close right behind it.
Yeah, I've gotten both ways, man. It's one guy's, some guys are telling me like, hey, strikeout, you can fist pump, get all hyped up.
Yeah.
Then a double play means you were in trouble and you only maybe had to throw one pitch to get out of
True.
it type thing. So I see it both ways, and I'm always curious like how a pitcher thinks about that. But
Yeah.
all right, Zach, I appreciate you hopping back on. Obviously, like I said off air, you are our very first guest when we started this thing back in October of 2023. So I very much appreciate you hopping back on. And obviously, we're rooting for you once you get to spring training here
Appreciate
in a month and a half. So thank you for hopping on.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. Appreciate you.